One more example, because these are a bit boring really. You just see A once, but you can see A lots of times, and you can do different things to it. For example, we've done index notation in very, very basic form. If I showed you this, let's do that. Here you go, another expression. It's a lot more complicated, we're doing lots more things to it. Oh, I might, just for the heck of it. Ta-da. Okay, but I can take any value of A and I can substitute it in exactly the same way. Okay, let's take these same two values, 3 and negative 2. Okay, so when A equals 3, right? Everywhere I see an A, I'll swap it out. I'll substitute it. I'll replace it, whichever word you like. Okay, so the expression equals. Okay, let's do it. I can see it in 3 places. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I've got 3 squared minus 3 times 3 plus 3 on 2 plus 1. There you go. That's my expression, and I've switched out all of my A's for 3's. Okay, let's quickly evaluate it. 3 squared. 9. Just by coincidence, this is going to be 9 as well, isn't it? 3 over 2, I suppose we could write that as a mixed numeral. That'd be 1.5, good. And you've got that 1 hanging around over on the end. These two 9s, they're just going to cancel each other, aren't they? So these disappear. 1.5 plus 1 is? Excellent. There you go. Not too hard. Let's do this last one down here. Excuse me. When A equals negative 2, okay, what am I going to get? I'll have, everywhere I see the A, I'm going to put in negative 2. So be careful. Brackets will really help here. I'll show you why. See how there's an A there? I'm going to put my negative 2 in, like so. Just as a word of caution, right? This is totally different to this. See, they're different? What's being squared in each case? Here, the negative 2 is being squared. The whole thing. What's being squared here? Just the 2. This would be negative 4. But that's not what we're going to get over here in a second. Okay? Good. What do we got left? Minus 3. Negative 2. Again, I've done another switch. I'll put a negative 2 up there on the top. And a plus 1. Okay, how are you handling? Did you have a question?
So what does the bracket do?
Yeah, what do the brackets do? I guess what they do is they make sure any operation you do, like squaring or multiplying or dividing or that kind of thing, it happens to the whole number. Whereas here, that square, it's just happening to the 2, not the whole number, not the negative as well, right? Which would be something different, okay? So, now I've done all of the substitution, let's quickly evaluate it. Negative 2 times negative 2, what happens to the negatives? They cancel. 2 negatives make a positive. So you get 4. Okay. I've got 2 negatives again, don't I? I've got a negative here and a negative here, so I should get plus 3 times 2, which is 6. Alright, what happens over here? Negative 2 divided by 2. Negative divided by a positive. That's going to be a negative. Negative 1, in fact. Plus 1 on the end. Okay? These two guys cancel. I just get 10. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's just summarize. Substituting is about all of these things, right? Taking where you see a pronumeral and just checking out what happens if you put a particular value in. The value can be anything. The value can be positive or it can be negative, or if we wanted to, actually I'd like you to try this now. You can put in a fraction as well. You can put in any kind of number, right? Everywhere you see that pronumeral, you replace it, you switch it, you swap it, you put in the number, and then you can evaluate it at the end. Okay? Yes?
If you put A as a fraction, what would the fraction on the
Should we do it together? Do you want to do A equals a half? See what happens?
No. Yeah.
I'll do it quickly, so the people who say no can have it over and done with in a quick matter of time, and the people who want it will have their curiosity satisfied. Okay, A equals a half. I'll do it in red since I wrote it over there. This is the expression I've got. Okay, so everywhere I see a, I'm going to stick in a half, right? Watch. First, a half squared. Again, I put the brackets to make sure I square the whole thing. Okay, minus 3, a half, plus a half over 2, plus 1. Okay, now, like I said before with the negative, the brackets are really helpful. Here's an example why. Have a look at that fraction there. If I didn't write in those brackets, right? If I wrote down that, is it a half divided by 2, or is it 1 divided by 2 over 2? Because those are different, right? So that's why, like, which one is it? Well, you better write brackets so you can tell which one it is. Okay. Now, let's go through it one at a time. A half squared. What does that actually mean? That's a half times a half, isn't it? I'm going to write that out before I write the answer. A half times a half. There you go. There's a half squared. Okay. Minus 3 times a half. We could do that, can't we? What's that? 3 times 1 is just 3. There you go. Okay. So far, so good? Or do you want me to slow down? Okay, now we get to this guy. A half. Now, do you agree? If I gave you like this, 10 over 5, something like that, right? What is 10 over 5? That's 2, isn't it? The reason why is because it's the same as saying this. The fraction symbol, that line, really is the same as division. It's just we write it in a different way because sometimes it's convenient. So therefore, this really is a half divided by 2. Is it 2? A half divided by 2? Is that okay? Alright, so I'm going to leave that there, plus 1. Okay, so I've done some work here. Now what do I do? Multiply fractions. How do I multiply fractions? Yeah, Jasmine. Oh, that's division, isn't it? We are going to do that in a second when we get to here. Fractions, when they multiply, I don't have to flip, do I? What am I going to do?
You just multiply the denominator, the numerators,
Yeah.
and then separately multiply the denominator.
Yeah, that's right. So I do 1 times 1, which is 1. And then I do 2 times 2, which is 4. There you go. So that's just a quarter. That's a half squared. Minus 3 over 2. Okay, a half divided 2. Now we can do the upside down business, right? That's a half. If I turn that into multiplication, what do I have to do to 2? I have to turn it upside down. It's really 2 over 1, isn't it? So that's actually a half. See that? Division to multiplication. This 2. Do you remember what it's called when you flip it upside down? It has a special name, starts with an R. The reciprocal. That's exactly right. Half the reciprocal. Plus 1. Okay, we're getting there. That's a quarter still. That's a quarter as well, isn't it? I'm going to write that over here. By the way, why can I move that over? Do you remember why? It has a special name. All these things are special names. A couple of lessons ago. It's one of the laws. We learnt 3 of them. That tell you can do addition in any order. See how there's a plus? Associative law. Well done. Okay, so I can move it over here. Quarter plus a quarter. Minus 3 over 2 plus 1. We're almost there. If I've got a quarter here and a quarter there, you put them together, I get half, right? Plus 1. We're almost there. A half minus 3 over 2. What's 3 over 2 as a mixed numeral?
1.5.
It's 1.5, isn't it? Right? Maybe if I add this one over here, that's 1.5, isn't it? Minus 1.5. Huh. All that work and I got 0 at the end, I feel ripped off. I want my money back. Okay. Now, that was long, partly because fractions are harder to work with. But we can still work with them, and they follow the same rules. You can take a value, any value, and you can substitute it into an expression, and you'll get another value at the end.